You're listening to Beyond Wellness Radio, bringing you the cutting edge in health, biohacking, and sports performance. Stay up to date and listen anywhere and anytime on your computer, tablet, or smartphone by subscribing on iTunes. Catch your host, Dr. Justin Marcagiani, as he answers your burning health questions as well as interviews from world-renowned guest experts. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.
Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani. Welcome to Beyond Wellness Radio. Feel free and head over to beyondwellnessradio.com where you can access our full podcast transcriptions. While you're there, you can also sign up for our thyroid and female hormone video series. This series goes into the root cause of why your hormones are out of balance. While you're there, you can also schedule a functional medicine consult with Dr. Justin, myself, where we'll dig deeper into the root cause of your health challenges. Feel free and think of sharing this podcast with at least one person. This podcast grows by people sharing it. Sharing is caring. If you can think of one person that can benefit from this information, please feel free and share it. If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you subscribe on iTunes. You can also click below the video or podcast where you'll see the iTunes review button and leave us a review. You can also sign up for the newsletter at beyondwellnessradio.com where you'll get updates before anyone else. Thank you so much and enjoy the show. Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani here. Hope you are having a phenomenal morning. Let's dive in. I got Evan Brand here in the house. We are going to do a podcast on detox support and specific binders to help improve your health and rid toxins and stress from your body. So Evan, how are we doing today, man?
Hey man, I'm doing just fine. And I'm excited to talk about binders because I've been going full force into these things. And I feel like this is something, it's very hard to find good information on the internet about this because most people say binders like charcoal or clay. Yep, take them. And that's all people really say. Any article you see, it could be something corny like 7 top ways to detox. And then they'll have bentonite clay and charcoal on there, which are 2 binders that are very effective, but there's no real good advice on those. So I'm hoping that we can give people good advice and then talk about why would you even need to use binders? How long do you use binders? What about some of the risk where people talk about you depleting your minerals and throwing off your electrolyte balance because the binders are pulling out toxins, but also pulling out minerals. So let's dive into it. Maybe we should first talk about how do you even know that you need binders? I mean, some could argue everyone is a good candidate for binders, but you and I have specific cases where we use these.
Yeah, so a couple of different things I would say off the bat is we'll use binders sometimes when we're doing detoxification programs, I should say gut clearing, GI clearing programs. So if we're working on dysbiosis or SIBO or parasitic infection and we're killing off crud that could be in the gut tract, well, our body has to do something with that. Our body has to sop up that dead debris and escort it out. And if we kill too much too fast, that can overwhelm our detoxification system, our lymphatic system, and our immune system. So putting a straitjacket on it, whether we're using activated charcoal, can help bind some of these things up, or bentonite clay can help bind some of these things up. It does it via electrical. It's an adsorbent quality where it attracts it to it like a magnet, similar to activated charcoal, and it helps escort it out of the body so it's not reabsorbed, stimulating the immune system and overwhelming the body. So this is helpful when we're clearing stuff out in the gut that eventually could make its way back, reabsorb into the body.
Yeah, so let's go through maybe a couple examples.
Yeah.
Like when we would bring this on board. So actually, I believe a couple of the supplements you and I manufacture not only have antimicrobial herbs, but actually have clay in it. So there's one that you and I use. Mine is my Microbiome Support 1. It's got clay, but then it also has berberine and Oregon grapefruit and a bunch of other things in it. So there's kind of a binder quality built into it. But really, when you and I are working on gut bugs, we notice that these people have this, I guess, gut feeling that when you show up with a parasite, they just say, give me everything. They want to throw everything at it and just kill too hard.
Yep.
But a lot of times people don't have the strong enough constitution. So maybe we can talk about, would you use binders in a more sensitive person? Would you use them regardless of a gut protocol? Like, how do you gauge that?
Well, I think off the bat, the big thing is most people, when they find out they have some kind of a gut issue, their main focus shifts to, I want to go kill this thing. That's the first thing they think about and focus on. I think that's a big mistake because a lot of times the first focus needs to be on bringing inflammation down, bringing nutrition up, and supporting our energizing systems around it. Because we're going to have a drop in energy. We may have more inflammation. We may tax our nutritional needs to run other metabolic pathways in the body. So it's really important that we're getting more nutrition in, we're reducing the inflammation, and then we give more time for our energy systems to come up because we may come backwards a little bit. It's like, hey, we only got this big expense coming in 1 or 2 months. Let's start a savings account where we start infusing more money into it so that in a month or two, when this debt starts coming due, we have that extra bit of money to throw at it. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, this is important for people to listen. This is why we try to educate people that come to us, because if we have uneducated clients, it's nothing against them, but they're not as motivated for the long haul. If somebody just finds us on a random blog or a random video, but they don't listen to us, when they get a series of lab tests back that we run on them, they may see 4, 5, 6 different infections. And Justin or I may say, hey, look, we've really got to take month 1 or month 2 to work on addressing your adrenal function, calming down the inflammation, as you mentioned, because we may see high occult blood where they've got microscopic bleeding because their gut's in such bad shape. Or we may see that the calprotectin's really high. If we go straight into killing, they may feel worse. And then they, of course, leave the program. So, if you're seeking out functional medicine, you want to make sure you in your mind you have your own agenda, but listen to the practitioner's agenda too, because if you've gone through this 1,000 times, we can tell you straight up, hey, look, if you've got way too much inflammation, I know you want to get rid of the bugs, so do we, but you may feel like crap if we do it too soon.
100%. So we want to build everything up so we have that foundation ready to go. Number 2, a lot of people, there's 2 ways to take a binder. So number 1 is, you're eating a questionable food or drink and you want it to be in your system to bind any potential crud with that up. That's where you would take that with that food. Number 2, you're in the middle of a detoxification program and it's a longer term thing. We probably don't want you taking that binder every single day with regular healthy food. So we would have you do it typically an hour before a meal and or 2 to 3 hours after a meal to avoid binding up those minerals and nutrients. So we would try to time it up on an empty stomach. Now, sometimes it's easier to do it midday between breakfast and lunch and dinner, or some people will do it when they get up and then when they go to bed and just leave an hour before, half hour, 45 minutes before breakfast in the morning, and then at least 2 hours after dinner at night. Those are really good prime times. And of course, a holiday weekend, you can always take activated charcoal with any of your questionable foods and drink. That's super helpful.
Yeah, and dosing wise, most of the time when you find activated charcoal, it's going to be in about a 250 milligram to 500 milligram dose. And so I think there's a range that people can do. Now, I will say, I just kind of come to this realization over the weekend. So I'm sharing this with Justin for the first time. I've been battling dizziness and sort of this disequilibrium for probably like 6 months or so, if not more. Actually, no, it was since last July. So we're talking almost a year. And what I just kind of made the connection, detoxification and binding, you have to mobilize a lot of your toxins, but you have to detox them at the same time. So it's kind of this seesaw where if I do too much glutathione, which is another detoxification strategy we'll mention, but if I don't do enough binders with it, I feel worse. But if I don't do enough glutathione or enough binder, then I still feel bad. I still feel dizzy. So when I feel like my best and I'm not recirculating toxins, it's the perfect dose of glutathione, which for me is about 200 milligrams of acetylglutathione with NaC, 1 gram, and then 500 milligrams of charcoal. So glutathione would come first in the morning, let's say 7 a.m. I would try to wait an hour, do binders, or in reverse order. You could do binders first thing, like 7 a.m. binders, glutathione at 8, and then breakfast right after. So that's kind of the hard part too is, somebody pointed out in the comments that it's confusing between the meals time because we're often told to take our herbs. They thought they would bind the herbs too. Yeah, that's the hard part. I think the hardest part about binders, it's so simple and effective, but the hardest part is the timing, remembering to take them and remembering to take them away from your medication, your other supplements and herbs.
100%. And really important, we want to make sure we're supporting the lymph, right? So drinking enough water helps support the lymph, right? The solution to pollution is dilution, right? Say that 4 times fast. We want to make sure we're providing hydration so the lymph can move. Ginger tea is awesome. I use this with a lot of my patients because ginger is anti-inflammatory. It's essentially an anticoagulant. It keeps things moving. It's also a biofilm buster. So if we have biofilms, which are these protective shields used by critters, it will definitely help with that and take those shields out of their hand and allow the antimicrobials to be more effective. So that's for sure. Now, a couple other gentle lymphatic supports that we'll do is we'll do red root, which is going to be a powerful anticoagulant. We'll do things like slippery elm. We'll do dandelion. We'll do milk thistle, skullcap, rhubarb. Rose hips is shown to be incredibly effective at mobilizing toxins and just kind of gently nudging it out of the body. So these are all very, very powerful strategies that we can utilize to keep things moving. Any thoughts on that, Evan?
Yeah, so let's move on. Let's talk about other reasons when and why you'd use binders. We talked about gut protocols, right? So supporting people during parasite infections, bacterial overgrowth. We talked about setting the foundation first, reducing inflammation, supporting adrenals before you even go into the killing. So during the killing phase, you can use binders to mitigate die-off, because people talk about, well, am I going to feel bad? Am I going to have a Herxheimer reaction on this protocol? Well, you shouldn't. Now, we don't always see every piece to the puzzle right away. So if we just see gut infections, but we don't know that you have a major mold problem, we may start to use glutathione to help you replace glutathione if we saw your organic acid tested low. But now that glutathione could be mobilizing things like heavy metals. It could be mobilizing mold into this enterohepatic recirculation. So now we have to do more binders, right? So this is why we have to get a good workup on somebody. If we just do a stool test lab and we try to make a protocol and throw in binders on that, it's not very accurate. So this is why we try to look at urine for mold. We do the organic acids. We can look at chemicals. We can look at stool. We can look at hormones. And once you have all the puzzle pieces, yeah, you're going to spend some money up front to get all this data, but it's going to save you more hassle in the long run. Because if someone does just stool and urine, and let's say you look at organic acids in stool, we make a protocol, and then they say, hey, Dr. J, or hey, Evan, I'm not feeling good, or I had a headache, or I had extra joint pain. We're going to say, well, we're missing something. We need to figure out what's going on, because this protocol here is great. However, something's missing. So now let's go back and fix or fill in the labs that we didn't run in the beginning. It actually costs you less money to get all the data in the beginning rather than waiting till the end. Because we'll have people that'll come on a budget, which is fine, right? They'll say, I'm just going to do stool test. But then we only see one thing. Like, let's say we see blastocystis hominis. Right. So it's like, well, do we use binders in that case? I mean, they could be helpful, but we don't know what else is going on. What if they have chemicals and molds and other things where they do need binders? So that
100%.
So what I was going to lead into was that my mycotoxin report, I should be able to share my screen. So let me see if I can. Because I wanted to show you when and why I started using binders. And it was because of my mycotoxin report.
And that's another big one, right? We talked about using binders to help with clearing herbs, but we may see people that have mold exposure. They may be in a moldy house, or we may see that they are urinating out a lot of mold, maybe from previous exposure, or they have a hard time getting the mold out of their body. And that's a great time to use specific binders, especially modified citrus pectin, or zeolite can be excellent. And then, we can even talk about it as well, that we even utilize some air filters that have binders in it, like activated charcoal and zeolite, to pull potential mold out of the air as well. So we can even use it in our air as well.
Yep. So I've got my report pulled up. If people are listening on audio, obviously you're missing out. You can go on Justin's YouTube channel and look up this podcast, and you'll find this video screen share. But what we're looking at here is my ochratoxin levels in my urine, which the reference range, anything above 4 is elevated, and anything above 20 is very high. And I was at 196. Now, the key component here is having people do glutathione for 5 to 7 days before you actually collect urine, because that's going to give us a more accurate result. We find that the tip of the iceberg shows up if you don't do glutathione. So that's fine, right? Like if you see just a tiny bit of mycotoxin, you know that you have an issue. But I would like to just flush it out as much as we can and then report it. So this level may have not been as high if I didn't have glutathione in my system. But
and
still,
some people say, well, you shouldn't do that. But taking glutathione doesn't just, put mold in your body. I mean, that mold's already there. It's just mobilized better. So we're getting in a window into what's actually there, which I think is more important. We want to know what's actually there versus what's stuck in tissues and our body can't get out, right?
Right. I mean, it's the same thing as doing a provocation for heavy metal testing, right? I don't know why people would be against using glutathione to look at mycotoxins if everyone supports the idea of using a chelator or even a natural chelator like chlorella for heavy metals collection before you collect urine or other samples for heavy metals. So to me, it's a no-brainer. And look at my levels. I mean, it's very, very high. And then you see there's different types of mycotoxins, and some are more damaging than others. So ochratoxin, it actually affects the cerebellum. Now, I've learned this. I didn't know this, but that's why you see balance and disorientation and dizziness with ochratoxin more than other mycotoxins, because it does affect the cerebellum. So that's why I notice if we go down here, you see I just had some other stuff too. Citrinin, this is another mycotoxin. I can't even pronounce this one. Anatian, I think, Anatian B.
Now, with the ochratoxin, where specifically did you get exposed to that from? Was that just from water damage or?
Yeah, that's airborne. So that comes from aspergillus. I remember as a kid, so that's the report. So I'll stop sharing so you can go back to me. But I remember as a kid, my grandmother's basement flooded and they had carpet in the basement. And I remember them putting box fans down there and it took weeks to dry out. And after you and I have spoken with Jeff and JW, some of the mold experts, they've told us that after 48 hours, you have mold growth if you have a moist material. So, I remember being down there, like playing games and doing puzzles as a kid while the box fans ran, which now I know was just blowing the spores everywhere. So I think I probably had this toxic buildup many, many, many years before I got symptomatic.
Anyone that has any family members that live in a basement, get your basement tested and get a whole house dehumidifier for your basement. There's specific ones that are for the basement. Get that moisture percentage down to at least the low 40s. It's really important. That'll prevent mold growth significantly, especially if there's no water damage. Plus, you have natural heat exchange between foundation and the earth on the other side. So you may get moisture occurring through that foundation, through the heat exchange. So because of that, we really have to make sure we're taking that water out of the air and it's not accumulating.
Yeah, I check my humidifiers all the time, and I have a bonus room upstairs above the garage that we're converting into a playroom, and that doesn't have ductwork up there, so the dehumidifier won't work up there. So I had a little humidity monitor over the weekend, and it was at 62%, which is way too high. So I got a GE portable 70-pint dehumidifier, and it has a little hose on it. So once I get all the plumbing done, I'll be able to hook that hose up to the plumbing to where it just constantly drains. But for right now, I've got the bucket. So once a day or so, I just drain the bucket until the plumbing's done. And I've already got it down 20%. Now we're at 42% humidity.
That's where you want to be. So like my house right now, I'm in like the low 40s, 41, 42 for my first floor and second floor. My office basement, I'm in like the upper 50s, low 60s. So I already got an HVAC guy coming this week. We're going to go with the April Air whole house basement dehumidifier. We're going to tap it in to the water line so we don't have to worry about it. I just rather have it just draining all the time and not have to think about it, because I know you can get a lot of water pulled out of the air for sure.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. And so, why binders came into the picture for me as well. One of the best ways to get rid of ochratoxin is binders. So if you talk with any of the laboratories that do this testing for mycotoxins, they'll tell you that you can use antioxidants like vitamin C to mitigate the damage. But to really get the stuff out, which is the goal, number one is make sure you're in a clean environment. So that's why Justin and I hit so much upon the home environment, using high quality HEPA filters to take the mycotoxins out of the air so you're not breathing them in. But even then, that might not be good enough, right? An air filter won't fix the bad environment. The air filter is like the bonus after the environment's already been fixed.
Although I have found patients, though, where there's no active leak issues, I have found patients knock down their mold tests pre and post significantly with just a good air filter.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, I think it's a good catcher's mitt for sure.
I mean, if it's a humidity issue, you probably have a greater chance. If there's actual water damage, it's probably a little bit tougher. And that's where we have to bring in the fogging solution. But, my thing is, get a really good air filter. I mean, head over to evanbrand.com or justinhealth.com, click on our shop link, look at our recommended products in there. We'll put links down below. And that's what we personally use. There's a couple different filters that we use. Like, for instance, I'm going to be getting the Austin air filter for my basement. office because that has zeolite and activated charcoal. Just because basements are more prone to mold, I'll be using that specific filter. But upstairs, I use the Air Doctor and the Molecule upstairs in areas that are less prone. So, I'm kind of strategic in what filters I use and why. And then also, testing and getting the whole house dehumidifier is huge. So you just want to be on top of these things so you can create a really good home environment, because part of Evan's issues were this chronic accumulation. And now we want to be using binders in specific gentle mobilizers, or I call it lymphatic support or drainage support, to kind of keep things moving in the right direction.
Yep. So the Austin Air is great. I think you'll love it. I had my grandmother over and she sprayed hairspray, which just destroys me. The smell of it just tears me up. I told her, don't wear hairspray. So anyway, she wears it. And so, of course, she fills up the whole living room with the smell of the hairspray. I've got the Austin Air right there. All I did is crank it on high. By the time she left, 10 minutes later, the air smelled like a fresh spring. I mean, that thing is amazing for smells and VOCs. And so anybody that has allergies, chemical sensitivities, it's incredible. So reach out to Justin or me if you want to get an Austin Air. We are professional dealers for those. And I mean, it's worth its weight in gold just from that one experience.
100%. Now, what's your experience, Evan, using like sulfur-based amino acids like methionine, cysteine, NAC? I know some of these things are biofilm busters, so they may be very helpful in dealing with SIBO, especially with NAC or NAC. But then there's also glutathione. So just my school of thought is if people have significant chronic stress, we'll tend to go more with lower dose glutathione, because the sulfur aminos have to get converted. And if there's any methylation issues or we're missing certain nutrients, that conversion may be a little bit halted. So I'll tend to go more with glutathione. But sometimes we'll do both. What's your strategy in that? How do you incorporate glutathione versus the sulfur amino acids and some of these herbs we talked about?
Yeah, so the blend I'm using right now is acetylated glutathione. It's 100 milligram per capsule and 500 milligrams of NAC. So if I do 2 caps a day, that's 1,000 milligram NAC, 200 milligram glutathione. To me, that is like the perfect combination. I think there's a little B6 added in there too, but that's the perfect combo for me. I noticed if I added—
It makes sense because that's probably helping with the methylation.
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah, I've got some methylation defects. I'm not like a double, what do you call it? The
homozygous.
The homozygous.
One of them.
Yeah, I'm hetero. So I've got the one SNP of methylation issue. So I have some methylation problem, but not terrible. Yeah. So for me, I tried this experiment where I did the 200 milligram glutathione, 1,000 milligram NAC, and then I added an extra 400 milligram of a liposomal glutathione in a teaspoon. I took a teaspoon of that, and I had the worst headache of my life. That was like the last weekend or two. I called you. I'm like, yo, I screwed up. You're like, uh-oh, what'd you do? I'm like, I took glutathione and then I took extra liposomal glutathione on top of it. I've got the worst headache of my life, and it lasted for, hours, 6 to 8 hours probably. So I learned my lesson. Now, maybe everybody else is fine, but for my particular issue, that mobilized way too many toxins. I mean, it's almost like I just opened the floodgates and my system just couldn't handle it. So
yeah, so you had a little headache action.
Yeah. So I did tons of water. We talked about doing some extra charcoal. You're like, hey, try some binders then. Maybe if you mobilize too much, why don't you take some more binders? So I went and took a capsule of charcoal and then drank some vitamin C, took some electrolytes. And then finally, I did some CBD oil as well. That calmed it down. So for me, I'm a huge fan of what you said, which is go more for the NAC and the precursors rather than just hard hitting glutathione, because it is very effective, but you can do too much. There is such thing as too much of a good thing. And I definitely found that spot for me.
That's excellent, man. Very, very good feedback. So in general here, we got to figure out what the goal is. What's your reason for using these type of things? Are we doing it because it's a holiday weekend and we're going to take some binders because we're going to have some food and drink that's questionable? That's great. By the way, a couple people on the question said, I drank some cheap alcohol. I got headaches. I did the same thing this weekend on Friday night. I added in some vitamin C with some additional vitamin C, like ester minerals, like potassium, magnesium, zinc, chloride. And I added the vitamin C with it and with magnesium. And that was really good. That killed my headache added some liposomal glutathione, we're good, no problem there. So that was a huge help. Also improving the quality of my alcohol. So last night we had some celebrations at my house. So I did some high quality clean vodka, Tito's vodka. We did some half lime squeezed organic limes, and then we did some kombucha to mix it in. So we got additional B vitamins, additional good beneficial probiotics. We kept the sugar down, extra minerals, EGCG, just beneficial antioxidants in there, along with antioxidants and vitamin C from the lime juice as well. So that's super helpful. So if you are going to drink, try to choose alcohol that's not going to add more toxic burden to you. And then of course you could always take activated charcoal with that, or if it's cleaner alcohol, you may want to wait and just take it before bed with a couple of shots of glutathione, which is what I typically do. If I have alcohol, I'll do a couple of, because usually I'm still eating a very nutritious dinner, right? So I'm eating pretty good most of the time if I'm having some alcohol. So I'll do activated charcoal before bed, a couple of squirts of glutathione, some vitamin C, and some additional minerals. And it's like, boom, I got everything in case there's any dehydration. I'm drinking my Topo Chicos in between drinks to maximize minerals and hydration as well.
Good. That's all great strategies. I like your focusing on quality, because see, people think alcohol, and you say that, it's like, well, there's a huge range of quality. You could go for some really garbage stuff that's got tons of sulfites and pesticides, etc., or you can go really high quality like you're talking about with your alcohol. So I think being smart, if you're going to consume it, be smart about what you're using. And then what I will say about the other binder, my favorite, or one of my favorites, is zeolite. I've noticed with zeolite, it's actually a better toxin encapsulation process than charcoal. So charcoal, as you mentioned, it has this property like a magnet where it kind of drags the toxins out through the intestinal tract. But if you have a leaky gut situation going on, and if you have gut infections, you most likely have a permeable gut barrier. Some of those toxins will get reabsorbed as you're dragging them through the intestinal tract and pooping them out with the charcoal. So you can actually do too much charcoal and feel like crap. I've done it. Now, zeolite, though, I've noticed I can bump up my zeolite quite significantly and I don't feel anything bad from it. So I'm not an expert on the, molecular level of how zeolite is working, but I believe it's more of a complete encapsulation of the toxin. Charcoal's more of an adsorbent. I believe zeolite's more of a encapsulator of the toxin, because if I bump up and keep raising zeolite, I never have a reaction where I feel like I'm doing too much. I do get really, really thirsty on it, but I don't ever notice a bad symptom like I do if I do too much charcoal, for example.
And so is the goal still the same? Is it to encapsulate and escort out of the digestive tract in general?
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. Pull things out. And zeolite's great because it can help with not only ochratoxin and other mycotoxins, but it can help with the alcohol molecule, I'm sure, and then heavy metals, pesticides, et cetera. There's some cool research on even like BPA and phthalates and other man-made chemicals that zeolite can remove.
Do you have a good brand of zeolite you recommend?
So there's a couple different ones. I believe it's called Results RNA.
Yeah. I think is that Gordon's lab or Gordon's company?
I don't know. It's got a gold label on it, and it's a spray, and it's just purified water and then zeolite. So that one's really good. I did carry the Vitality Detox drops for a while, these little small bottles, and it's just a little dropper. You just squeeze it onto the tongue. However, it does have citric acid, and I think it even had a preservative in it. So I was just trying to go more clean. So that's why I went with the Results brand. And you'll get really thirsty on zeolite, but to me, that's a good sign that you're starting to pull stuff out. So just stay hydrated, extra minerals, extra water. I'll kind of rotate in like some Fiji every once in a while, or I'll do like this Icelandic, like glacial spring water, which, it's in plastic, but the water inside of it's good. So I'll kind of rotate and play with a couple different things. The Fiji's helpful because of the silica content. So I would consider Fiji as part of a detox protocol too. There was some guy out there, I don't remember his name, some doctor who did an experiment where he had his patients drink nothing but Fiji water for like a month, and they've reduced their aluminum content in their body with the help of the silica by like 60%.
That's great. Yeah, the silica is a good natural detox. It's also a good, it's one of the main building blocks of your teeth too. So it's really powerful for building up healthy enamel.
Yep. So I would just say, long story short with people is get your testing done. work with a practitioner. If it's Justin, if it's me, we don't care who you work with, just as long as you get help and you get the proper data, right? Because you could go to Whole Foods and go buy charcoal and take it. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know why you're doing it. What's the purpose? How long do you need to do binders? See, we're getting a clinical piece of data, and we see, okay, look, Evan's got a ton of ochre toxin. We're going to do these specific binders plus sauna, plus mitigating the environment, making sure everything's clean, plus helping the liver, plus making sure the gut bugs are clear. I looked at my stool as well. And then you retest. Did it work? Do we still need to do binders, right? So I think this is in the category of stuff that can definitely help you, and it's not going to hurt you. However, I just don't recommend doing it without a plan. It's much smarter to have a plan.
Exactly. And then with your experience with zeolite, is it more selective at not binding up nutrition and minerals like activated, or is it like more indiscriminate like activated charcoal based on your experience, or is it more selective at avoiding the binding of nutrition and more encapsulating the mold?
Hard to say. I would have no idea how to prove if I was preserving my mineral content. I would just say I get really thirsty. So to me, it sounds like it may be pulling out minerals as well. I just don't know.
So zeolite more encapsulates, where the charcoal or the clay is adsorbent and kind of electrically charged that toxin nearby.
That's what it feels like.
It pulls other things into.
That's what it feels like. There's a couple articles on this. I don't have anything bookmarked right now, but I had read something about zeolite being better at keeping the toxin away from the bloodstream, away from reabsorption, compared to charcoal being more of just, it's dragging the body through the house and leaving a blood trail kind of thing, versus the zeolite's more hiding it in the bag and taking it out. But like I said, this is all just stuff I've read, and I've felt personally not bad from doing high dose zeolite, where if I go high dose charcoal, I do feel bad. So this is kind of just what I've read plus some personal and clinical experience.
So to use the creepy analogy, right? Pardon the creepy analogy. We're dragging the body versus pulling out the neat body bag and then putting it in there and picking it up with help, right?
It makes perfect sense visually, doesn't it?
I get it for sure. Okay, that's cool. And then one more thing, we talked about a couple of other binders. A couple of people chimed in on here. We already mentioned modified citrus pectin, and citrus pectin is kind of in that plant-based fiber community, which is very helpful at binding up metals like lead and mercury, and also molds as well. So we like the modified citrus pectins as well. And let's not forget chlorella. Chlorella is going to be really good. It's going to be more selective at binding up mercury, tends to be mercury in the gut. So chlorella could be really good if you're going out and getting sushi. Definitely want to bring some chlorella with you and take it with the meal. That way it's binding with a lot of the mercury that may be in your gut. And then you can also do activated charcoal for that, but chlorella is really, really good at that. So there's a couple other strategies that we can incorporate as well.
Yep. So you could play with all this on your own if you'd like, and you're probably not going to hurt anything unless you're got a really important medication that you're taking, and you're taking binders with your pharmaceutical medication, and now your heart doesn't work the way it should, right? Like, don't take this stuff with medication at the same time. Separate it by at least an hour, but really get the data. If you have symptoms, there's probably a reason for your symptoms. There's a root cause for something. So if you feel fatigued, there's probably a reason for that. If you feel dizzy, there's probably a reason for that. If you feel joint pain, there's probably a reason for that. So investigate. Get the data first. Get the puzzle pieces laid out on the table. You're not going to, draw. That'd be like you're a caricature artist, at an art fair, and the person is turned the other way, and now you've got to draw what their face looks like, and they're not, they've got their back towards you. Like you just can't do it. It doesn't make sense. So for you to go and buy zeolite and buy charcoal, and I'm going to play with all these binders, you don't even know what you're up against. That's silly. So, find a good practitioner that you want to work with. If it's us, great. We love helping people across the world. If you've got somebody else helping you, great. Just make sure you get the data. Don't just have them put you on a bunch of chlorella for no reason.
Absolutely. Head over to evanbrand.com. You can reach out to Evan. Justinhealth.com. You can reach out to me as well. I'll also be doing a live YouTube Q&A within a few minutes after this podcast here. I see a bunch of questions in the queue that are more patient oriented. So I'll be there for a nice little live Q&A action. So if you guys want to hang out for 5 or 10 more minutes, I will be back. Evan, today was phenomenal. Great information, great back and forth. We put this together last minute. Just the nice thing about it is, we have so much patient experience every week. So we can look at, hey, what are some of the questions or issues or challenges our patients are having? And then we can say, let's create a podcast. And a lot of times our podcasts are patient inspired. And more importantly, they're designed to help the general public as well as patients. So if you guys are patients and already listening to this, make sure you're subscribed. and you utilize as much of this information to support the program you are already on. Anything else you want to add, Evan?
Oh, that's it. I would just say take good care, and we'll be back next week for some more fun. So if you have suggestions, topic suggestions, write those in the comment, or if Justin's doing a Q&A, bring up those topics to him and we'll jot it down and we'll make sure we bring it up.
Wonderful. All right, man. You have a phenomenal day. Enjoy your family, and I'll be back in a few. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Got a question for Dr. J? Go to beyondwellnessradio.com and click the questions button. Then tune in to hear the answer. Also, if you like the show, click below to review us on iTunes. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.